I've read this story of the prodigal son or the gracious father many times, and this is the first week that I noticed that the grace in the story depends on trust. The father's so trusting. Without trust, there's no grace. And for there to be trust, someone has to be vulnerable enough to offer it. And for there to be reconciliation, which is what we all hope for, there has to be all three. There has to be vulnerability and trust and grace for us to get anywhere and reconcile with one another. Well, the story begins with the younger son making that famous request of his father. Hey, Dad, I know you're still alive and everything, but let's face it, you're not going to live forever. So I'd like your money now. No hard feelings, but the way I see it, it's really my money. And it's just sitting there. You're going to give me the half of the farm when you die anyway, so rather than the cows just grazing on my pile of cash, I'd like to make a withdrawal. All of it. Today. What do you say? And we're told that the father divides the property in two between the younger son and the older son. He honors the request. Nothing more is said about this. And there are so many reasons for the father to say, no, sorry, son, I feel bad. I really do, because I didn't realize I'd raised such an idiot. Did it occur to you I might still be using this property? Besides, never ask family for money. It just gets too messy. Or, sorry, son, but you just turned 16, and I just don't feel like you can handle this responsibility. I may have felt differently if you hadn't just been picked up by the cops for going 100 miles an hour down the road while texting and eating a burrito from Taco Bell. But this time, I just can't trust you with this. But instead, the father says, okay. Why? Is the father naive? Does he really think this young man with a fresh batch of testosterone is going to be responsible with lots of money? I don't know. I think he probably knows his son. I don't think he trusts his son to act like a choir boy, but he does seem to trust that his son needs to do this to learn what he needs to learn. He refuses to control his son. He trusts him with his own actions, to chart his own course. This sounds like the divine story, doesn't it? Like God? How many times has God given us the equivalent of the car keys and cross God's fingers? Oh, I hope this works. Step back. God doesn't control us, but trusts us to find our own way, knowing that's the way that life will be meaningful. Well, the son takes the money, goes not just over the border, but to a distant country, all the way on the other side of the earth, so his father won't be able to see what he's doing. And there he squanders his money in dissolute living, we're told. Immorality supreme, Miami vices. What stays in Vegas, happens in Vegas, stays in Vegas. He spends his last penny, and at the very same time, an extreme famine begins. He's thinking, this is why my dad told me to save a few pennies, and now I need to get a job. And he gets a job feeding the pigs, and it's the ultimate symbol of squalor, because a pig is a forbidden food in Israel, right? So it's like getting a job cleaning up poopy diapers and nothing else. He's feeding the pigs their slop, and he's hungry. He would gladly eat some of the scraps they're given, but the story says no one gives him a thing. And that's an important line in the story. No one gives him a thing. In the situation he's in, he can't survive without some sort of gift. Someone else has to help. He's going to have to decide he wants to out of the situation. He's going to have to start taking responsibility for his actions, all that stuff. But he also needs a gift. All the personal responsibility in the world, all the bootstrapping he can muster, isn't going to fix his situation on its own. He also needs a gift. He needs some grace. The story says he comes to himself. He realizes, all of my father's workers have more than enough food, and here I am starving to death. I have to go home. I have to go face my dad. Can you imagine? Eek. Well, we probably can, because we've all had to face someone that we've wronged. This is repentance in its purest form. Repentance means to turn around, to go back to God. The son gets his speech prepared. Father, I've sinned before heaven and before you. And we notice that he's let go of his feeling that he's owed anything. At the beginning of the story, he felt like the money was owed him. Now he realizes he doesn't deserve anything. He's completely at his father's mercy. The second half of the speech is, I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your hired hands. Just give me a job. There's vulnerability and trust here too, isn't there? The son needs a gift. The only person he can think of that would possibly offer him that gift is still the father that he wronged. Anytime you ask for forgiveness from someone, you're in a very vulnerable situation because they might not offer it. This is why we never want to apologize or ask for forgiveness. This is why some people never can. It opens them to the possibility of too much hurt. It's scary to let go of that much control. Saying we were wrong puts us at someone else's mercy, but unless we can, we won't find the true reconciliation that we're looking for. Well, the son's on his way home. He's looking at the ground. He's practicing his speech. He's got to sell this, otherwise he doesn't know what he's going to do. He comes up over the hill, sees the farm, sees his figure start running toward him. It's his father. Arms open rather than arms crossed. It's an amazing response. He grabs a hold of his son, hugs him, kisses him. The son starts the speech, Father, I've sinned against you and before heaven, and I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. And the father cuts him off in the middle of the speech, doesn't even let him finish it, and starts calling on the servants to start the party.